I don't know if anybody's awake. I don't know. Is anybody awake out there? Four-year financing available. Andrea likes to make fun of me because I just read signs. I don't give any meaning, I don't give context, I don't ruminate over possibilities. I just read them, let it hang. Foothill Flea Market. Probably what would be more interesting is to see if I can come up with an anagram on the spot. That's difficult though. Possible, but difficult. What are we at? We're at the 16th? 17th? The election's in a month? No, the election's in like half a month. I've kind of been thinking a little bit about Og lately. Haven't heard anything from him in quite a while. No videos, not too many tweets. And here it's just been insanely smoky. Someone did a what you call it? Like a prolonged exposure shot of the smoke, and it just kept billowing out over the city. I think they did it over like an hour or two, and it maintained the line, like probably for about 2 hours. It maintained the wall line of smoke over miles and miles. Very strange. Is anybody alive out there? Are you all shadow banned now? Ban in effect. What's up, Donnell? So many different worlds. So many different worlds are flying around and intermingling. It's like the baseline safety net reality has been ratcheted down until eventually it's just pleasantries and talk about the weather, because there's landmines everywhere, conceptually speaking, because the so-called truth has been suppressed so much systematically, just cinching tighter and tighter, that subconsciously, even if people aren't realizing directly what sort of censorship is going on, then I think subconsciously people get that the thing is trying to tighten. But it doesn't have doesn't have a goal. There's no goal that I can see. Unless the suppression of free expression itself is the goal. Perhaps for this time around. But then I have a feeling that the mechanisms that wish to suppress end up helping the naturality come through. Because like I was talking with Andrea a little bit earlier, truth and lies is yet, it's just another duality. So even if you got it to become all lies, only lies, then it's directly reflecting the opposing duality, even if it's not spoken. So you could go to a situation where, like, it's just a sarcastic parody, and that's it. So there's no verbal fleshing out what the thing is. And it's only a sarcastic, reflective parody. And that's it. But that's not even necessarily a problem, because it still reflects what it reflects. Yeah. What's up, Dan? You're gonna host my Armageddon? But I feel like the parasites are being starved anyway. You can take any movement to its logical conclusion, and the thing that has been sort of reigning in terror eventually is going to get too fat and it's going to pop, or it will consume all of the food available. And if you think of Lucia as the food, it's been consumed. Like it's pretty well milked by now. And if a lot of the people who are ripe with emotions, if a lot of those people have already been farmed, or they've learned how to internally control their output, then they're really not any longer available. And it has to get starved. I mean, the show is trying to go right now, but it's like a really quiet Armageddon. There's too much automation. Even if you've succeeded in your goal of removing spirit and spontaneity for the masses, for the majority of the masses and the asses, and then there's one self-autonomous demon creature remaining, and he's like, all right, time for full-on Armageddon, and he presses the button. It's like the machine itself, if it's consumed everything, it's like trying to tell all the robots to become zombies. Like, robots aren't really zombies, like they're just hunks of metal. So they could even pantomime what an Armageddon would look like, but it would be a bit of a poor show. I see people being civil for the most part, even through all the mask nonsense, through the buffoons in office, through the mirrors, i.e. TVs. It's like a bad show. But it's not even a bad show. Like, to me, it's not really that much of a show anymore. It's really not very much of a show anymore. What has succeeded is censorship and sort of censorship and suppression has succeeded beyond Zuckerberg's wildest dreams. But it's like the screen of reality has to display something, and consciousness is an absolute necessity. Otherwise, there's nobody to watch the show. So you can't just systematically attack consciousness forever and expect anyone to watch your shitty shit shows. Like, somebody has to be around to watch your shit show. I'm assuming. If a shit show is on and there's no organic beings left to watch it, is there still a shit show going on? You know? It's not a show, it's just incoherent babble that needs to be obliterated. Hey Joe Bina, what's up? How are you doing? I heard it put like this: there's no judgment in nature. We all eat energy, so why blame? We have to find a balance. Rot gets recycled. Yeah. The balance is never actually lost. It sure as hell feels like it comes close sometimes, though. Justin Bieber? I haven't thought of that guy in a while. I have not thought of Justin Bieber for a minute. So, like, I never thought I'd smoke cigarettes. I really didn't. Alex Jones loves the Bieber. It's kind of funny because the false idols, or the gods, the little g gods that the system has created, which are the Biebers and the Lady Gagas, the Eminems, which have to be fallen by the very nature of that particular ascent to power. These ones have more clout than Trump and Biden. Biden has like nothing. The system is literally like making lies everywhere, trying to say that Biden has some people giving a shit about what he's doing, trying to wipe out all evidence of crackhead children and sniffing babies and all this kinds of stuff. But it's like they don't even have the popularity that the Miley Cyruses and the Justin Biebers, the Ariana Grandes, Britney Spearses. They don't even have the clout. So what the machine should be doing is just telling them what to say. And it does, but I feel like it succeeded too well. Like, this is the most MK Ultra wet dream scenario that anybody could possibly imagine. But at the same time, I don't really see it as a problem, because everything gets experienced at some way, at some point. Like, all possible combinations exist, and we're just putting a magnifying glass up to a piece of that Mobius strip. So if you understand the inherent balance that's in everything, and you feel like you're having the worst shit show ever, like your shit show is not giving you back rubs and lots of good sex and stuff like that, then you can just hold on, remember this too shall pass, as Jesus said, and just know that you're getting through some of the dark, dirty shit so you can experience the flip side of it. And in that way, it's kind of hard to be upset when the shit show is pretty bad. Los Angeles is surreal. Cigarettes are good for you. I assume that everything is good for me. As soon as a thought or an action comes around, so long as I'm not directly hurting somebody else, I just assume that it's good for me. Because the thing has been too confused to try to get on, meat's good for you, meat's bad for you. Meat's going to send you to the lower density as soon as the realm gets recycled again. Or veggies, vegetarian. There are so many positions and stances. Try not to get run over here. There are so many positions and stances that it's like Alan Watts says, you just gotta. It's too complicated to make a rational decision, seeing the literally infinite amount of variables that exist within any choice that you would ever possibly make or conceive of making, that you're better off just rolling a dice and saying, I think I'll try that one. Because then you're rolling with some spontaneity instead of trying to live out some prepackaged success recipe. It's all too generic anyway to be applied to anybody specifically. Will the Matrix unravel after the election? I think it's already unraveled. Like anybody peering into the yellow cube or using magicians and witches to predict optimal timelines, they always see if the thing is actually correct. They see the actual repercussions of their forcing actions, and they see they see their own demise, or they see the thing, the hellhounds coming for them, as Thoth said with the emerald tablets. And if there's a conscious being sitting there watching that thing, they just already, that's like a mechanical enlightenment. So I would imagine as soon as someone was peering into that thing for long enough, they would eventually see their own self peering back at them from the other side, and they would freak the shit out. And they would throw the thing away. They would try to throw it as far away as possible. And it would probably pursue them. The yellow cube thing itself would probably try and pursue the person who's trying to use it for personal gain. the people using high technology got too big for their britches. Really, there's supposed to be a balance with it. So when technology is getting ridiculously high and complicated, it's supposed to spur on the organic consciousness to match and to understand the causal chain that follows, which I assume that it is. I know it did that with me, even though I didn't directly use high tech. If you're in an environment that is moderated and modulated via high tech, you are that as well. So you have to assimilate and use it to your own advantage, or be consumed by it. I think it's just too horrifying for most beings to be able to comprehend the idea that there's an etheric parasite entity that's eating their emotional bioemissions. I think most people can't handle that, because you will eventually see that the whole societal structure is built to yield such results, and you will have to have a bunch of enlightenments and shit like that. And people don't want to be enlightened. Nobody enjoys enlightenment. That's why you can't tell people how to get enlightened, because number one, you can't force that, and number two, it's not enjoyable. It's not like, let's have a beer and relax and talk about football. It's more like, let's watch our entire reality dissolve, and us with it, and not know anything what to do with it. It's not something that you just like raise your hand and say, oh, I think I would like that. I'd like to try that. I don't see the regular people saying anything anymore. I don't see people who are just trying to construct a worldview based on ego. They're not even really talking anymore. I don't hear logical, insightful discussions on the nature of reality for the most part, except for within my own brain and Andrea, and occasionally when I come on YouTube and prattle on about these things. Yeah, if you're balanced, you don't need to escape, because you know there's nowhere to escape to. Nowhere, now here. Like, everything is written within the language. All of the paradoxes and contradictions are directly written within every single word that we use. Burn down Saturn? We are the Matrix. It's like if you remember that all methods have been tried. All methods of action, enforcing, and being an egotistical, self-serving douchebag. All of those methods have been tried. Eugenics, all types of war, all of that has been tried. And then you go to the flip side and look at esoteric Eastern religions, and you see every single method of surrender has been tried. And of course, any trying involves the opposite of surrender. So that's kind of a moot point to begin with, but the people sitting on their little Buddha cushions spend lifetimes trying to learn that. Straighter lane, 6,500. I mean, one thing that I don't understand that well is how all these Matrix children are just fine and dandy with having their church and their football and their weddings and their everything, all these social Matrix things just taken away. I don't get how they're okay with it. It just tells me that there aren't very many organic consciousnesses in here. Because people aren't out rioting about all the economy and all their jobs being destroyed. All these sort of mundane talking points that you would expect normies to be harping on about. You don't see them doing it for the most part. Somehow the Matrix is still just doing the Matrix. Like, completely fine. That truck doesn't sound very healthy. I don't get it. Hey Roger, hey Mr. West. What's up, people? I was supposed to have, what's his face? Forgot his name already. Mark Atwood on. But then his email started seeming a little funky, and he said, message me on the WhatsApp thing beforehand, because I have 5 kids and whatnot, because I was going to have him on tomorrow. Still maybe we'll have him on tomorrow. But then I messaged his WhatsApp, and I was like, hey, this is Gary, I'm just making the connect. And he said, sorry, Gary who? With a bunch of question marks. And I was just like, okay, some sort of meddling is happening with communication. So I don't know if that show is going to happen or not. And I don't have a ton of interest in continuing doing shows either. Rest in peace, Kobe. I liked Kobe. It's really the only thing of value. The only thing of value that I see is empathy. It's the only actually valuable concept. And it's not just a concept. There's an actual energetic stuff, which we call empathy. But that selflessness itself has been the target, and there's not very much of it. There's some of it in terms of mundane civil exchanges, like when you go to the store and try to mumble hello through your mask at the cashier. There remains a little bit of an echo of what true empathy used to be, but that's the thing that has been attacked for the most part. And that's really the only human attribute that is valuable, is empathy. It's the only thing. There's nothing else. It's the internal warmth that you can share with another being. Because if you don't have that, then it's just you and the fucking void. And that gets boring after a while. So empathy is a must. It's a necessity. It's really the only thing worth protecting. Hey, Lee. I can see the realm degrading literally at the molecular level. If this is the end, it will be the 7th time I die. If I come back, I would still be me. The world is alive and pissed off. Yeah, I know I've been through that fucking washing machine many times. I've had many cycles, but I don't have the memories of it. I dumped off the memories because when you sink into the natural mind or the God mind, it's protected against everything, and you have access to what you need in the moment, and everything else is extraneous and irrelevant, and you just pay no attention to it whatsoever. Because it's very literally true that the past or history repeats itself. That's literally true, only in the sense that there are a finite number of ways to move or bounce off of any given piece of information. And when I say finite, I mean like all the way up to infinity, like all the way up to infinite. That's what I mean when I say finite. So if you are an infinite being recycling through realms, as soon as you know a certain thing as a solidity or a held like a checkpoint, there are only a certain amount of ways that you can react to that. And the other thing to keep in mind is that in a scarcity-driven realm, there's not space for everything. There is not space to forever keep records of everything. The universe runs out of space to do that at some point. And so you have to give that off to the larger existence of yourself that holds the thing together, and you just let go of it. Just don't bother with it anymore. New to your channel, do you think the results of the election will just put us in another layer of the matrix? Welcome, Julie. The results of the election I think it's a birthing process that even those of us who have seen so many different realities, it's something new for those of us who have. So it's something new. It's something that nobody has seen yet. Not like the election is not paramount in importance. It's only important in terms of the screen and the show that goes on out the window, to some extent even. It's not even that important. I think the truther community is sitting here thinking that the hand is going to be like splayed out on the card table after the election happens, and people like to say, why'd you retract your message? What were you saying? I used to scare you? I think so-called truthers want... There's a safety valve in people that wants it to... It's the Schrodinger's cat experiment. Like, you don't want it to be the actual Schrodinger cat, which is the thing is both alive and dead. Yet, like, the ego mind doesn't like that shit. It hates that. So the election is just a Schrodinger cat right now for the so-called truth community, and people want it to fall one way or the other. They want it to. We like to think dualistically, so we like to say, well, if Biden wins, then, he's essentially Hillary, or he's just the Democratic Party in general, which is, by all intents and purposes, the mind virus itself in terms of mental insanity, and we're just going to all immediately be ushered into FEMA camps, and, probably incepted a couple more layers into the brain in the vat syndrome, and we'll pop up into another existence with less connection to spirit and more parasites leeching off of us. Or the orange man will win, and the mighty savior will protect us from all of the things that are evil, or at least he'll hedge against them for 4 years. Like, I feel like that's what the truther community is kind of doing with the election, when in reality, as far as I understand, it's not going to do either of those things. The reality itself doesn't ever pick like the options that humans and other sentient beings are trying to scribble out on their little planning notepad. It doesn't really pick those. The actual reality does its own thing. It's not even that much interested. It is interested. Like, the reality itself does know about everybody, but the God mind, or the reality itself, it understands what everybody needs, and it gives everybody what they need. Like, there aren't any mistakes. Nobody ever gets... It's not unfair, is what I'm trying to say. It may seem like it's unfair, but it's not. It's balanced. It's always balanced. Yeah, my new place is great. Our new place is very nice. Fall in love with the void, yeah. Yep. I really do wonder why I came here for this experience. Well, there's a part of it that doesn't have anything to do with you choosing, even though people like to say that, we're all up there with God and just peering out at all of the multitude realities out there, and you're like, all right, God, I've been this and that in my past one, and I had this really shit hand in this other one, and I was burned at the stake in the other one, and I want to pick this, and that, and the other thing. And then, everything's all niced up, wrapped up cozy like, and you get plopped in a new reality that you choose. I don't really think it works like that. I think in the moment we can conceptually reverse engineer the most recent step that we've taken, causally speaking, and we can tell a story to ourselves in the moment. Like, it's more like that. It's more like we like to reverse engineer the moment and say, this is where I was 10 minutes ago, this is where I was 2 years ago, this is where I was 2 lifetimes ago, and so on and so forth, when that's just a cozy, it's a hedge to the void is what that is. It's not anything other than that. Unless you are protected enough, self-protected, that you can dance with the void in every moment, which essentially says everything is illusion and all of these are just stories that God tells him or herself in the dark of the night so he doesn't get lonely, or because he's bored, or she, or it, or whatever. So hard to know for sure what is going on. I thought maybe Trump was doing good, but I think there's something nefarious there as well. It's interesting you say empathy. It appears that the vaccine is attacking chromosome 8, which is the empathy of man, so you're on something. I mean, they had a symposium. Is that even a word? Symposium? They had a conference where the dude was literally saying, like, we are trying to isolate the God particle and remove it, or like numb it out or something, because the scientists felt like if they could do that, then the herd would be infinitely manageable. And another thing to keep in mind is that everything under the sun has already happened, all possibilities. have already happened. Everything. And if there was a vaccine to kill the God particle or sever your connection with Source, then it's already been done. There are already beings who have been severed from that infinite light as much as is possible, and they're automatons. Maybe they're NPCs. I don't know. It's like everything has already happened. It's a big giant cloud of potentiality, and everything has happened. And you, as the being with your body mind magnifying glass, you just stick your magnifying glass along some parts of it, and you literally like squeeze a tube. You're squeezing the reality tube, or like Ben says, that city, he says reality canals are sort of laid out in front of us, and we fall down them. And the mind is the one that creates those canals. And it's really literally up to you. It's always up to the individual being how they make gouges in the reality field. Or if you're like me, you don't really do gouges anymore. You just stay in your balance, and the world fabricates itself around you as you're walking down the street, like it's doing right now. Like, I'm not sitting here intending all this shit to be here. It's just, it happens automatically. And I could sit here and worry about it, like, oh man, are the satellites watching me, and all these underground bunkers are having me on the teleprompt screen, and they're like, oh, Gary's up to it again, he's out there saying stuff, and I should be real scared about this and that and the other thing. But I don't do that because I don't care. I'm not interested in who's watching me, or who's watching them, or who's watching them, or how far infinite regress goes. I simply don't give a shit. And they don't bother me, because there's nothing to do with me. So the power seekers there's nothing to get, so they don't. I mean, if anything, they try to keep me quieter than loud, but I have no intention of being loud anyway. If my channel disappeared, I wouldn't care. If Facebook disappeared, I wouldn't care. It's just like mild entertainment. And some connection with people who can understand more complicated concepts than, what's going on with the weather, or all of these regular, normal concepts. My battery's gonna die relatively soon. Feels like amnesia. Memory is just a perception of an emotional experience. If I knew there's no... Yeah, I mean, probably on some level we were suckered into coming here. But you can take whatever stance you like, or you could take whatever stance you feel is most natural to you. You could take the stance that you're a warrior and you're here to hold the minimum amount of conscious light that's necessary for existence to continue on in any form. You could do that. Or you could say, I'm untouchable and uncatchable and unentrainable, and I simply create as I go. And there's no way that can possibly be quantified, so I don't worry about it. I don't worry about somebody trying to suppress or shut me up or anything like that. You can take any stance you want. Or you can take no stance. I would advise that. I would advise the no stance method. The reason we see darkness as bad is biological. We had to survive predators at night. Yeah, Jax is as good as he can be, I think. I still call him every week. I'm setting myself up financially so I can have a stable place and I can go take my ex to court and get him for a month or two during the summer. And I've never been in the position to do anything financially, mainly because we're in some layer of a hell realm as far as finances are concerned, and you don't become wealthy by being empathic and empathetic and caring. You become wealthy by hurting other people and using other people. So I have, for the most part, never had any opportunity to do anything financially, but I somewhat have that opportunity now, so that's what I'm doing. How's everybody doing? How do you guys feel with this election thing approaching? We are at a sort of crucial tipping point in terms of mechanization. I would say that because wealthy people are wealthy largely because of replication and mechanization and automation and conveyor belts. That's why most of the wealthy people are wealthy, because they replicate. Like, I went and bought some tools at the Home Depot today. Hey, Michelle. And I'm sitting there like beeping the items with the little trigger gun that, the clerk used to use to scan your item. Now I'm doing that, and the clerk is literally standing there. Like, there are 3 or 4 cashier people standing there watching me grab the beeper gun and beep the items. So they're essentially redundant. They're serving essentially like no purpose whatsoever. They're not doing anything whatsoever. They're standing there watching me beep my merchandise. So, and this has already been talked about, like in the utopian versions, high technology, and it's supposed to usher in, more free time for humans that don't need to be creating all these widgets because the machines are creating them. But once you understand the realm in terms of spiritual degradation and one-upmanship and war and loosh eating and all this other bullshit, then you understand that anything becoming mechanized, if it's not resulting in more food for the parasitic ones, then it's not going to be giving any freedom to the people. So we are at a bit of a crucial point in this particular realm where the majority of the actual free thinkers need to determine and discuss with each other how they wish to carry themselves in a place where a lot of things are mechanized and robots are doing a lot of the work, the grunt work. When false scarcity becomes removed, which it will at some point, what would you like to do with yourself? That's a question that I think that's one of the most relevant questions that we can ask ourselves right now, because that is coming. I mean, if the realm doesn't obliterate itself in an archontic blaze, then we're still going to be here, and we're going to have to figure out what to do with ourselves during the day. So therefore, that's something I think that people should be thinking about. If money were not a factor, what would I do with my life? And of course, people who see that lots of robotic entities are running around and NPC type entities are running around, and then from that perspective you might say, well, I'm just going to hide inside of my safe zone I've made with my apartment or my house, and I'm going to draw pictures all day. Maybe that's what you want to do if money were not a thing. Watching you self-checkout. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Take care, Lee. Good to see you. I don't do self-checkout because I don't work for Home Depot. I don't work for Home Depot either, and I did self-checkout. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that we're doing the work by self-checking out. 3 people are standing around watching you scan. Yeah, it's silly. Australia is run by pedos. I don't see much hope for us. Most Australians don't care about what happens in the American politics, but they don't realize that it will affect Australia as well. Everything affects everybody. Period. What any being is doing to another being affects every single other molecule that is in existence. There's no such thing as, oh, well, that's none of your concern. That's none of your business, so you don't need to be thinking about it. That's the mindset that got us where we're at right now. Everything is everyone's business. Literally every single thing that ever could be conceived, that ever has happened, that ever will happen, is every single conscious sentient being's business. That's the mindset that will help retain the balance. I helped my landlord sell a jet ski the other day. He's like, help me sell these things. They're going to go to the landfill. Well, I volunteered. And I sent somebody over to the shop, and he just came up to me the other day and said, well, I guess somebody wanted one of these jet skis. So he gave me $100 for this old thing. And so the landlord gave me $60. He kept 40. And that was like the easiest $60 I've ever made. And there are more jet skis there that presumably I could help him sell. And I'm also enjoying learning hardwood flooring. It's the first time my work has actually been supportive of me. And I enjoy all the people. I like the boss. They're all empathetic individuals. They're not necessarily talking about the deeper issues of the existence itself, but I don't need that. And the money is better than I've ever made. Plenty of hours. So I'm happy with that. Andrea's going to full-time creation for a month. So if anybody would like to help support her endeavor, go buy some of her Etsy items. She just keeps getting better and better as far as I can tell. Like if she wasn't getting suppressed, that shit should be flying off the shelves like nobody's business. But the Matrix knows all of us, and it knows that it needs to suppress us and blah, blah, blah. So it's a challenge. Like, it's a challenge for everybody. This realm is literally like the biggest challenge that any sentient being has ever faced, as far as I know. And maybe that's just how existence always is. Like, it's always the most challenging at the current moment. I don't know. Yeah, the landlord's nice. It's right here. He owns Newman Motorsports. And he gave us $300 off the first month of rent because he was like, yeah, there's some food that I haven't cleaned up and the place needs a little bit of cleaning. So if you guys do that, then I'll give you I'll give you $300 off of rent. We didn't sign any paperwork. We literally handed him $1,700 for 1 month's rent plus deposit, and just like moved in the next day. And that's really cheap compared to most places. Fort Collins is supposed to be kind of expensive. So in terms of breaks, like lucky breaks, or I suppose earned breaks, this is the biggest break I've had in memory, actually. Like, most of my life has been a very huge struggle to stay afloat. Mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually. But this particular juncture for me me, Andrea and I both are in one of the best spots that we've ever been. Like, we were living out of the car and semi-homeless for most of the first 2 years that we hung out with each other. Andrea is probably watching and being... Actually, I don't know. I can't say that. She might be watching. I don't know. But it's kind of ironic that the world is going to full-blown shit show mode, trying to have an Armageddon, like at the same exact moment that we get the most security that we've ever had. But I don't mind it. Your landlord took off. Oh, she is watching. I knew you were watching. Being all sly and sneaky in the background. Hey, Gary, can you talk to any of the subject of aether and how we connect to source through aether? Yeah, it's like when they studied subatomic movements, they found, and of course, this could all be bullshit, but according to the scientists that study quantum mechanics, they say if you have a particle that's bound to another particle that's like light years away, and this doesn't really make any sense, but it was like if one particle moves a certain way, the other one that's hundreds of miles away or light years away, that's connected in some fashion, it moves at the same exact time in the same exact way, and it's instantaneous, and distance means nothing. So I see the ether, which is essentially the substance that we're all floating around in, as infinitely permeable and via thought instantaneously communicable between any element from one to another. So that's the way that we are connected. When we're not physically in the presence of one another, then we think about someone else, and there's no time, like that thought brings their essence to us with zero time passing, and thought doesn't take any time. So the speed of light is not any sort of barrier for spirit. Spirit is instant. And also, even with all the talk of the God particle being hunted and whatnot, like, it's a joke. Like, God is always just playing jokes on himself via us. So if you trust in your creator, or you trust in the essence that holds your life together, and you have to, because like nobody knows how the fuck they're holding themselves together. Look at your own self. Like, how does that shit hold together? You don't know. You have to trust. And God is not going to be like destroyed by anything. But in a world of all possibilities, then everything has to be at least tried, including like God making a rock so heavy that it can't lift it, and so on. Like, all of these paradoxes have to be swam through in some way or another. But you're gonna learn to trust one way or another. Like, there's just no two ways about it. Ego is nothing. It can't do anything whatsoever. The little self ego thing that's trying to hold the shell together is literally nothing. Like, it just doesn't, it actually doesn't exist. The ego self actually doesn't exist. And the God self is just what does exist. So like, the ego is the mental etheric parasite thing that somehow was created, and it doesn't exist. That's the weirdest thing. And so enlightenment is just realizing that that entrapment thing doesn't exist, and then you're free. Very simple. Just started. I didn't know where you just... Well, at least you didn't get worried and try to call me, because if you tried to call me, then that would have ended the live stream immediately. Big old cosmic gag reel. Yep. That's that. I always say God's laughing his ass off. That's my general feeling. Her, his, her. God doesn't have any gender. Maybe that's what the realm is trying to do with all of this gender switching, is it's just trying to point to the obvious fact that God does not have a gender. I don't know. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, we're pretty happy with where we're at. I don't know, I don't see... I see the thing unraveling pretty rapidly. Like, a lot of channels are getting taken down, and you know, the number of people that are actually sharing genuine... It's not even like truther is like a misnomer for what it is that we do. It's just like sharing genuine thought. That's not a vested interest thought, or that's not motivated by fear or greed. That's all it is. Like, there isn't any truth to be shared. That's a load of bollocks. Load of bollocks. I'm glad you enjoy it, Roger. I think I'm about to wrap this up. I'll let you guys see the jet skis that I might help sell. And then that will be that. See, there used to be 3 jet skis sitting here. Now there's only 2. So I can look at that particular piece of stuff and say, hey, I did something with that, and I made some money. Anywho, 21 people, 11 likes, 63:44. Seems about a good time to stop. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I might have the show with Mark tomorrow. I might not. It's looking kind of like not, but the realm has been surprising me and having things happen even when it looks like they're not going to happen. So if it does happen, it will be 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, whatever Colorado is. 3 o'clock if it does happen. I know he had JCK on, and I know JCK has a lot of followers, so that means that energy is going to be all wily, and things are going to be trying to fuck with that energy. So I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but we shall see. Take care, everybody. Peace.